We got a lot of important Tesla stock news to go through, starting with Jim Cramer saying that Tesla stock is about to reach a market cap of $1 trillion again, which would be a significant increase from here. Cathie Wood was just on TV saying that Tesla's robotaxis will provide 80% gross margins. She's still extremely convinced about robotaxi. She's not backing away from that, and she was quite challenged during her appearance just now. She believes that analysts will have to adjust expectations upwards. And look, she isn't wrong about analysts adjusting expectations. Look at what Morgan Stanley is saying now. They are basically openly talking about robotaxis. They call it Tesla's mobility fleet. Interesting way to put it, just so you don't sound, I guess, as crazy as by saying, oh, Tesla will have a robotaxi fleet of millions of vehicles in about a decade. And Morgan Stanley predicts that Tesla will make $105,000 in revenue per year per robotaxi. And they didn't just throw that number out randomly without any dates. No, they said this will happen by 2030. I've been saying for years now that I believe Tesla's full self-driving will be safer than human driving before 2030 ends. And Morgan Stanley, looking at their latest research here, are they getting more bullish than me about robotaxis? That sounds like, what's happening? This doesn't sound real. But this is where we come back to reality. Optimistic forecasts suggest Tesla could reach a $218 billion valuation by 2030 if it deploys its fleet and increases profitability. I believe they mean, by deploying fleet, they mean robotaxis. Yeah, no, that's going to be a lot more valuable than that. This is a joke. This is like saying back in 2019, oh, you know that Tesla Model Y will add like $5-10 billion to Tesla's market cap. No, if you looked at the stock, you realize Tesla's market cap increased by hundreds of billions of dollars, just largely because of the Model Y. Because that also, it's not just about that one vehicle, it's about the future. And when you have full self-driving that's safer than human driving, investors will flock back to Tesla stock like you have never seen before, sending the stock higher and higher and higher. If you look at Elon Musk's account, he does talk about FSD and retweets and posts about it regularly. But what's more interesting is that you also see Tesla itself post about FSD. And I have noticed that when Elon Musk says something about FSD, you have to take it with a big grain of salt, and then eventually it becomes true, but it can take a while. With Tesla itself, when the company posts something, I take it as a lot more, yeah, this is going to be true very, very soon, or maybe it's already even true. For example, here, Tesla's account is saying this means you can even use FSD in places that no Tesla has ever been to. It also really helps that Elon Musk retweeted this, boosting it and allowing more people to see this. Now here's something that at first sounds bad, but actually it is not at all. Tesla's former head of vehicle programs and new product integration announced he has just joined Waymo as program director. The reason why this is not bad is because he has not been with Tesla since the April layoff, suggesting that maybe he was laid off. And it's definitely not headhunting and just taking someone away from Tesla. And another guess that I have is he's probably maybe going to make even a little bit more money working at Waymo on this Dune project than he was making doing vital work at Tesla. I also take this as actually really important news because Elon Musk said he would like to cut 80% of the US federal government if his backed candidate wins. This was from the interview that Elon Musk just did with Tucker Carlson, which was a great interview. He laughed so much and his energy seemed pretty positive and he was in a good mood. Seems like he's pretty confident about what he's doing. He also admitted if he follows through with this plan, he will need a lot more security. And he also pointed out that very likely if his backed candidate doesn't win, that he would be maybe not necessarily prosecuted, but he expect some vengeance from certain people. And as an investor, it's something to definitely keep in mind. But if everything turns out as Elon Musk is expecting, then if he gets in the government, he will cut a lot of these jobs, making it really difficult to investigate Elon Musk or prosecute Elon Musk, because there would also be a lot of backlash from the administration. If someone or something wanted to do something, there would be things like this, which is happening right now. The US House Oversight and Accountability Committee announced it is investigating the FCC's decision to deny SpaceX's Starlink rural broadband subsidies. An FCC commissioner actually argued that the FCC is now among a growing list of administrative agencies that are taking action against Elon Musk's businesses. And if they keep harassing, for example, SpaceX, it will naturally also eventually extend into Tesla as well. For example, not giving Tesla money for building out superchargers and giving that money to other companies which have no clue what they're doing and they're just wasting that money. During the interview with Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk gave this example where SpaceX was sued for supposedly discriminating against asylees and refugees in hiring, but SpaceX, there's also another law which prohibits SpaceX to hire someone who is not a US citizen, basically, because SpaceX is considered as a company that possesses extremely important technology for the US military. So therefore, the US government would not want someone coming in from another country, working at SpaceX, taking all this knowledge and then taking it back to a country that's possibly hostile to the US. So you got two laws. One demands that you hire a refugee and another one that basically prohibits it. And Elon Musk made it very clear that he would want to get rid of a lot of regulations like that because now the government basically just chooses, okay, we want to enforce these laws because it benefits our narrative and not these laws because, you know, that would just not benefit us. And that's one reason why Elon Musk wants to cut so many government jobs. Currently in the US, there are a few hundred government agencies. Elon Musk would like that number to be under 100. And here's, by the way, an advertising campaign that basically Tesla is running. Since Tesla's new Actually Smart Someone feature launched 1 month ago, videos of people using it have collectively gotten nearly 1 billion views across all social media platforms. Do you think that made a few sales for Tesla? Do you think that makes people want to buy Teslas? Do you think that accomplishes the same goal basically as advertising? I believe so, except it costs nothing. And here's news that many Tesla stock investors have been waiting for, especially customers too. Full self-driving 12.5.6 finally has end-to-end highway, not just for Cybertrucks, but for all Teslas, and this version is going out for the first time right now. This version also has a few more improvements. For example, it includes earlier and more natural lane change decisions, updated driver profiles, and updated auto set speed, now called max speed. This is still a relatively limited release and it's only going out to AI4 cars, but Tesla Scope believes that even AI3 cars should have this update in the next 1 to 3 days. And here's Gregor Truck driving his Cybertruck. A lot of this was on highway, 337 miles. So how does it feel on highway now? Well, it's smooth, he says. And I so relate to this. I've been traveling a little bit and I definitely love turning on FSD in a city that I've never been to and it's all not familiar, but FSD drives as it knows the city. I just supervise occasionally. Of course, I intervene, but overall, it's a much better experience in a city that I've never been to driving on FSD. I also like the name of this mode. It's called Hurry Mode. Specifically on highway was where this screenshot was taken. And Omar just posted a video showing end-to-end highway on his Model 3. It's a 33-minute drive. Tesla is definitely preparing for the October 10th event. Hundreds of Teslas spotted at Warner Bros. Lot, possibly testing FSD. Yep. Now, from my personal experience using FSD, if you live in an area and you drive on FSD a lot, you can predict exactly when you will need to intervene. So this could be a part of Tesla knowing, okay, avoid that specific place when we're doing a demo for everyone. But also at the same time, they are probably going to improve FSD for this specific location. And we have some expectations for the event. Tesla Model 2 expected to be unveiled at Robotaxi event as a stripped down Model 3. This specific prediction comes from Deepwater, which is run by Gene Munster. He expects the Model 2 production to start in late 2025, which would be not what Elon Musk has promised to us so far, but also, Elon Musk has been late on many of his deadlines. If you really care about Tesla's deliveries, Troy summarized year-to-date sales compared to the previous year. In Europe, sales are down, but sales in China, Asia Pacific, and Canada are up. US is also down a little bit. Reportedly, Elon Musk is also planning to campaign with the candidate that he's backing. But what's a lot more interesting to me is the results of how everyone voted when it came to Elon's compensation package. We just found out exactly who voted for and who voted against. You can see Gary Black's fund voted for. Ross Gerber, of course, voted against. A big shout out goes to an institution like this one, which at first voted against, but then realized, oh, we should have voted for here, so therefore we are going to do the rational thing and give the money to Elon that Elon actually earned. This included Vanguard as well as BlackRock, but there have been some major hypocrites here as well. For example, this one right here voted for, but then voted against. This includes Fidelity as well. Shame on you. If you do any sort of business with any one of these companies that voted against, I would suggest to stop doing business with them as soon as possible, because obviously they are either somewhat corrupted or they don't know how to properly assess the situation, or they're misinformed, or they did this on purpose because they hate Elon. There's actually one more reason why they would do that, and that's being greedy in the short term. But even in the short term, if you use your brain, you know that many Tesla stock investors are invested in Tesla largely because of Elon Musk. So if you do not pay him, that means Elon Musk is going to leave, and a lot of these investors are going to sell. Therefore, even in the short term, you would ride the stock down. So if you're voting no against this because you think in the short term this is going to be better for Tesla because Tesla is going to save some money, you're so unqualified to do your job. It reminds me of these doctors from a few hundred years ago who refused, despite some early evidence, that washing their hands is a good idea before a surgery, and that you do not want to work on someone who is dead and get your hands dirty and you're all bloody and then go and deliver a baby. That's a dumb idea, and yet many doctors refuse to wash their hands before delivering a baby. It actually took decades to convince doctors to wash their hands before delivering a baby, or before doing surgery, or before working on a patient. Something that's that obvious took so long for people to figure out. History is filled with examples like this, and FSD is going to be one of them. At this point, EVs, that's becoming a bit more obvious to many, although to some still not so obvious, but that is the future, no doubt. And so is FSD, but some people just don't see it yet. And by the way, there is a bit of a backlash against some of these companies that voted against Elon's compensation package. This really was expected. I wonder if some of these firms thought that maybe people wouldn't find out. No, we know exactly what you did. If you haven't seen it yet, Elon also participated in this rally. He gave like a 5 or 6 minute speech, and he basically just said vote, 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 vote over and over and over again. I haven't really seen any serious or significant backlash against Tesla or even against Elon Musk after him being quite a bit more political and directly involving himself in a rally like this. So I think people have just completely gotten used to the idea of Elon Musk being extremely politically involved, which is good for us Tesla stock investors, because the political risk, I think, is not as big as many believe it is. And Elon sort of is already working with the government here, providing help. There was a request made for Starlinks, and Elon immediately provided some Starlinks to North Carolina. Whatever you think of Elon, in some way, shape, or form, this picture is definitely going down the history books. Now, of course, anytime Elon Musk jumps or celebrates on stage, it's labeled as cringy by some people, and this was no exception. Elon Musk appearance at the rally was labeled as the cringiest moment in the US political history. Really? The absolute cringiest?
Go to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House? Yeah!
Yeah, how about a strong no? That was definitely a lot more cringy than whatever Elon Musk did. There's a bit of arguing in the Tesla community about Elon's involvement in politics, though. I relate to Dylan the most out of everyone. The world is bigger than just Tesla, and Tesla will be just fine. It's a tough auto market for everyone, and EV education will take time. And it's really economically inevitable that pretty much everyone is going to eventually own an EV. A few thousand sales here and there means nothing in the long run. I also agree with Omar here. The reason why I love Elon is because of his engineering skills, not his modeling skills. So when people say, oh, what a dork, I agree with Omar. Yes, the dork we need to fix the mess. And like Elon Musk himself commented on this picture, very autistic expression I have in this picture. And to those that are extremely worried about Elon's statements affecting Tesla sales. Let's see how Rivian is doing. RJ is America's left-wing sweetheart, and here are Rivian's deliveries in Q3 of last year, 15,500. This year, same quarter, 10,000, only down 35%. Tesla is only down 6.4%. Oh, wait, I apologize. My bad. It's actually up 6.4%. It's not down. And by the way, Elon Musk being involved in this race is definitely making a difference in the race, as you can see from the polling data here. I like the betting markets more than the polls because I think the betting markets are definitely more accurate and there's going to be less bias because you're betting your own money. You're not trying to create a narrative here. And here's what's Poly Market saying right now. I personally really enjoyed this interview with Tucker Carlson and Elon Musk. One more thing that he talked quite in depth about was AI and OpenAI and Sam Altman, and how he does not trust Sam Altman, and how Sam Altman just basically got awarded about $10 billion in stock, even though supposedly he said that he's not doing it for the money. But then why didn't he just turn down that $10 billion and only take control of the company? Obviously, he did it for the money. Basically, what Elon Musk is campaigning for is making theft illegal again. But how about Tesla stock news? Well, a bunch of Tesla semi-trucks have just been spotted. Could this be the beginning of a big ramp of the semis, which I believe is going to add quite a bit of value to Tesla's stock price over time? Well, if you look at the factory progress in Nevada, that's going to make all these semis, it's progressing actually pretty fast. Just earlier, you saw almost nothing here, and now, look, things are going up. Oh, and these are the first non-foundation series Cybertrucks. Yeah. These are finally here. There's a whole bunch of them. It's not just a few here. There are no, look at how many there are. Anything, of course, can happen, but I suspect that these non-foundation series Cybertrucks are going to scale quite a bit faster than the foundation series Cybertrucks. And of course, like all Tesla cars, these non-foundation Cybertrucks also come with standard autopilot. Tesla no longer has its chief information officer. It's unclear whether he got fired or whether he left Tesla. If he left Tesla, I suspect that he made that decision to leave Tesla, not just now, but when the layoffs started to happen, and he probably just looked for the next thing for him, and he probably found that thing now, and that's why he moved on now instead of earlier. When you have big layoffs, it's normal for people to also leave a little bit later after the initial layoffs happen. So mostly for that reason, I don't see this as a really bad thing. And this is definitely relevant to us Tesla stock investors. So when the market found out about Rivian's numbers, pre-market, it was down 6.8% actually. And Rivian said it now expects to produce 47-ish thousand vehicles this year, down from an earlier view of 57,000. An analyst average estimate was 55,300. And in Q3, delivered 10,000 vehicles instead of the consensus, which was 11,800. So imagine if Tesla missed the consensus number by, let's say, over 15%. What do you think the market would do? So now there's a question, can Rivian even achieve its target of break even by the end of the year? Which I have been skeptical about. Now, on the bright side, RJ, the CEO of Rivian, he is a Democrat. Maybe that's what's hurting its sales. Obviously not, but I mean, look at the numbers. And thanks for Rivian. They are going to get harder because remember that Tesla is going to start really producing the Cybertruck in higher volumes. It's no longer the Foundation series. It just got a price cut of basically $20,000. It starts at $79,000. Now, who does Rivian blame for this whole mess? Well, Rivian cut this 2024 production forecast by 15% due to a copper wiring shortage for its Enduro motor. Earlier this year, a miscommunication with its sole supplier, that was already a mistake, a sole supplier, Essex, along with Rivian's miscalculation of its demand, led to the shortfall. Essex has since diverted supply to other customers, and now it cannot fulfill Rivian's requirements. So the CEO must be distracted or something like that. I don't know, by maybe politics? I didn't think it could get any worse for Fisker because, you know, they are already basically done. However, it turns out it can definitely get worse. The US Department of Justice said in a court filing today that bankrupt electric vehicle maker Fisker's plan to pass on the cost of vehicle recalls to customers is illegal. I'm not sure exactly how they are going to cover these costs because, they are bankrupt, but it's not getting any better for them. In the meantime, though, if you ask many Americans which brand gets recalled the most, many of them are probably going to say Tesla because they see these headlines. However, turns out the most recalled brand in the US is Ford, number 2 is BMW, number 3 is GM, then Volkswagen, and Toyota is actually worse than Tesla. Can you believe that? Toyota, supposedly the most reliable brand you can get, it has more recalls than Tesla. Why? Because Teslas are more reliable than Toyotas. Now, to be fair, Tesla does have one thing going for it on this list. It hasn't been an automaker for the last 20 years. So naturally, when you have a lot more newer cars than older cars, you will not have as many recalls. But still, definitely, Tesla is not going to be as bad as Ford. However, specifically in Tesla's case, 99.2% of the cars recalled only needed software updates completed at home. So I say Teslas are going to be better even when you consider recalls if you exclude software updates in the long run than Toyota. In the meantime, Lucid actually delivered almost 2,800 cars in Q3, up 90% year over year. They produced, though, only 1,800 vehicles during the same period. They seem to have returned to growth now. Their losses, though, remain insanely high. But the thing is, a lot of these cars seem to have been sold to their own shareholders in the Middle East. So how real are these numbers? And then look at this. Lucid's SEC filings show that $48 million were earmarked for repairs. And how much in revenue did it make during the same quarter? Not profit, revenue. 201 million. How much of that is profit, do you think? If you said zero, you would be correct because they are losing money. Yeah, their warranty costs are not going to be good. They're setting aside a lot of money for warranty repairs. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet. The next video will be out on Thursday or Friday. I'll see you back then. Thank you so much.